No PFL, no Bellator for this one. We're sticking to our guns right now, guys. We just had a good bounce back week last week, so we're still, we're not getting overzealous. We're not getting overconfident after one good week. Yep. We're just trying to make it a run now. Don't let the Joes get hot, because when that happens, things are a little scary. So
I'm excited.
Let's go from top to bottom on this list.
Damn, that poster looks clean, huh? I like that.
Poster looks okay. It looks okay. I'm okay.
I kind of fuck with like the cartoon look.
Is that you think it's a cartoon?
Little cartoony, like it's realistic pictures, but I don't know.
I'm a little confused. Like some of the things on the poster are kind of confused. Like I like the way the fighters look.
Yeah,
like, they look a little glossy.
Yeah,
maybe that's what you're thinking.
Cartoony.
But like the blue behind them, like why is the
random.
blue? Why is the blue get cut off and then it's black? Like what's going on there?
Good point.
Is that a window? Like I'm confused. Anyways, we have some weird unit sizes here. 2.35 units. Me and Dominic, we both are in on Chris Curtis moneyline. I put it 1.35 in order to win one. Dominic putting a single unit down. Chris Curtis minus 135. We kind of already said it, Dom, but the longer this fight stays standing, you heavily favor Chris Curtis.
Yes.
He's basically made an entire career out of avoiding submissions. He only has one submission win, and he only has one submission loss. So not a guy that takes the fight to the ground very often. Rodolfo Vieira just has yet to seem really confident or comfortable in MMA and in the UFC. So I don't have much hope for him here in his toughest fight to date. I still don't think the jitters of that Anthony Hernandez fight have worn off.
Yeah, just one more thing to add before we move on, because we've said it a lot already, but I do think while the knockout is obviously in play for Curtis, as long as it's on the feet, you got to think is just the longer the fight goes in general, you can lean for a decision victory for Chris Curtis as well. I just think there's more past the victory, a knockout or a decision, whereas for Vieira, or if he doesn't get it on the ground, it's probably chalk for him. So.
Very true, very true. I also followed that up with another money line play. 1.1 units on Carlos Ulberg at minus 110. He is fighting Tafon and Chukwi. Two guys who came in with a little bit of hype, have both sort of underperformed up to this point. I would say Tafon and Chukwi has looked a little bit worse. You know, for Ulberg, he got a solid win his last time out. It was kind of a safe win. Everybody knows before that he had that fight. I forget who he was fighting. It's that
Kennedy and Chukwani?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Man, you said that very fast. Kennedy, you were like, you said that like you had to get it out, or in 2 seconds, or you were gonna die.
Forget. Yeah.
Kennedy and Chukwani. That was very good.
I almost just pissed myself. Anyway,
I think you were just like, you had that ready in case I asked about Kennedy and Chukwani the whole night. You're like, Kennedy and Chukwani. So him shut up! I'm trying to save my fucking picks. Carlos Ulberg. They had a fantastic war of a fight. Carlos Ulberg looked great early, great striker. He's out of the city kickboxing group, so trains with like Israel Adesanya and guys like that. Unfortunately for him, Kennedy and Chukwani, I can't even say his name. He was able to withstand the punches, withstand the punishment, and ultimately Ulberg kind of gassed himself trying to put him away. So then he came back and kind of knocked him the fuck out.
It was bad.
It's kind of a crazy knockout.
That's what Kennedy does. If he's down in a fight, you're probably fucked.
And it's so weird, Dom. These guys, Ulberg and Chukwi, I believe both come in with, they both have less than 10 fights professionally. It's kind of bizarre.
They're barely over 10 combined.
Yeah, like the sample size is very limited. But basically what Ulberg, when he's been on, has looked very good.
Yes.
His striking is very good. As long as he doesn't gas himself going for a finish, I think he'll be fine. Tafon and Chukwi has great power, which does scare me a little bit because, Olberg a little chinny maybe. But I think the guys that Olberg trains with are I think they prepared him probably very well for this kind of style matchup. I just think Olberg, if this fight stays standing, I think Olberg is going to pick him apart. That's really how I view this. And Tafon and Chukwi, been a bit underwhelming in the UFC, so I don't have too much hope in him.
Yeah, it's an interesting fight. So Vanessa Demopoulos, the dogs are barking because plus 220, and she's fighting Jin Fry. And why? Why? Someone justify to me, seriously, reasonably, why she is a plus 220 underdog.
Is her opponent's last name really pronounced Fry?
I think it's pronounced Fry, but it's spelled Frey, right? F-R-E-Y.
I don't know why it made me laugh.
I think it's Jin Fry.
Jin French fry.
Listen.
But okay, yes, continue.
I don't get it. If this fight, to me, is a pick'em fight. It's a 50-50 fight. So if I'm seeing someone at plus 220, I'm going to take it. And then, yes, Jen's on a 2-fight win streak, but they're so lackluster. Not much goes on. I think I was watching a breakdown of someone talking about her last 2 fights where she landed combined 60 or 70 strikes between the 2 fights, barely outstruck her opponents to close decision victories. Vanessa Demopoulos, when she goes out there and is on, like Noah said previously with Carlos, she's on, man. She was down and got knocked down in that fight against Juarez Gomez, who just had that crazy knockout last week, fought back and had that crazy submission win in the first round, jumped into Joe Rogan's lap after she won. I just think she's 4 years younger. She's just as good as Jen everywhere that the fight takes place. I think she's more willing to kind of get in there, make it scrappy, go for finishes. I just think there's more routes to victory. She takes more risk, and I think in a fight like this, taking a risk pays off a little bit more. So I'm going with that all day at plus 220. It could bite me in the ass. I get that. But again, if I see a 50-50 fight and you're giving me plus 220, I'm taking it all day, and I'm going right here with Vanessa Demopoulos.
I was a little surprised by the odds. I don't remember too much about Jin Frey's really run, which maybe that does say enough about it. She's 2-2 in the UFC. I know the name, but I couldn't tell you much about any of the fights that I've seen with her. Vanessa, of course, had that big moment in her last fight.
Just better competition for her in general too.
Even
if it's losses.
Jin Frey, 37 years old, by the way, so not young. But I will say Jin Frey does have a 5.5-inch reach advantage over Vanessa, so that is pretty significant. But that isn't exactly Vanessa's game either. So
right.
I don't know. It is a bit of a toss-up fight. Yeah, you're right. I mean, even if you look at Vanessa, what she was doing before the UFC, she had losses to Lupe Godinez and Corey McKenna just a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And LFA Cage Warrior.
Corey McKenna was on the Contender Series that she lost to her. And then her UFC loss was JJ Aldrich, and we saw the run that she was on. Yeah. So it's just the competition is in her side as well.
Jin Fry lost to Kay Hansen in the UFC, has wins over Gloria DePaula and Ashley Yoder.
Yeah.
Gloria DePaula fought last week and lost, so I get what you're saying for sure. I think for me, when I look at a fight like that and I see those odds, I was surprised by them. But to me, it made me go, shit, I must really not know much about Jin Fry.
I hope that's not the case.
Just because I'm like, man, I really don't, there's not anything that stands out from any of her fights for me.
Exactly, man. I just didn't understand it.
Next one, 0.5 units on Nate Maness money line. Plus
he had to do it.
Do I have to explain myself here?
He had to.
This isn't me saying that I think he's going to win. It's just me saying that I don't think plus 625 is reasonable for this fight.
Yeah.
It may prove to go that way once the fight takes place. Umar Nurmagomedov is definitely capable of putting a fight away in very quick fashion, dominating the fight. That could very well happen. But based off what we've seen of these two up to this point, I don't believe it's that much of a mismatch. Don't believe it. And this fight is both guys very good grapplers. But Nate Maness has showed a little bit more on the feet in his UFC outings. Umar Nurmagomedov doesn't really do that.
Right.
He's pretty much pure submissions and grappling. So it'll be interesting to see how Maness does. Again, I'm not expecting him to win, but I have to throw it out there. 0.5 units. I mean,
And if it hits, that's a pretty little payday.
It is a pretty little payday, and it'll be nice little unit income for us. So.
Very much, very much.
Next one, Dom.
Yes, sir. So Shavkat Rakhmonov, listen, he's 15-0. He's in the co-main event slot against Neil Magny. I love this fight. I think it's perfect matchmaking for Shavkat to kind of prove where do you stand if you want to enter into this top 10 of this division. And man, listen, I know Neil Magny's durable. I know he's tough. But at the end of the day, 15 fights, 15 finishes. Almost split right down the middle. 8 knockouts, 7 submissions for Shavkat. Neil Magny, yes, goes the distance a lot. But typically, Noah, it's when he's on the winning side of things. He's got 8 losses in his career. 6 of them have come via finish. And I believe that Shavkat is that good. I believe in him. And at minus 135, for a guy that has a 100% finish rate, come on, man.
That was a great stat you threw out there about the decisions. I didn't really notice that.
I just really do believe in Rakhmonov, and I love Neil Magny. I think he's a dog. I think he has a chance to obviously set a record and beat GSP this weekend to get his 20th win. But I think it's Shavkat's time to shine, and I think he does it emphatically.
Let's talk. We can kind of combine these next two, very similar
in
our mindsets here. The Cheyenne Bay. Oh my God. JP Bays taking on Cody Durden for the fight for the most likable guy in the UFC. I have this fight inside the distance at plus 100. Dominic saying fuck your last half round. Taking under 2.5 rounds at plus 125. Just outdoing me just a little bit. No, but I like the plays here. I do. I think when you look at these two guys, Cody Durden, JP Bays, when they're not being fucks, I mean, they seem to be, they're pretty good fighters. And they both have had tough runs, though, in the UFC. I mean, they're a combined 1-4-1 in the UFC. Not great.
Yeah.
But as far as why this fight doesn't go to distance or it goes under 2.5 rounds, you look at the decision rates for these guys. JP Bays only has 1 decision in 14 fights.
Yeah.
Cody Durden, 4 decisions, so a little bit more, but in 17 fights.
Yeah.
That just is what really is on the line here. And plus, both guys fighting for their UFC careers, probably.
Yes.
I expect someone, maybe even both, to come out here very aggressive, looking for a finish. Maybe JP Bays, motivated by his tumultuous divorce from Cheyenne Vlismas, looks to put away Cody Durden.
There it is.
For no reason at all, I'm going to just mention shout out to Roman Dolidze for getting a big win last week. I'm guessing you don't know the backstory to that.
Oh boy.
Well, I'm pretty sure that Cheyenne Vlismas is getting,
Oh, okay. They're friends. Her and Roman,
yeah, they hang out a little bit.
Like the bowling, like we bowl. With Macy Barber and
No, you were just asking for relationship advice. Don't forget, Dom's over there, not a horny guy at all. Not him. Dom doesn't even have testicles. Oh my God, whatever, dude. Anyways, next fight here.
Is this next one me? Yeah, it is. Listen, okay, so Noah took the dog. Obviously, he's taking a chance. I love that he's taking a chance because it's worth the risk. For this fight, though, in general, you look at it on paper, these guys go to the decision, yada, yada, yada. I think this is going to be a sick-ass fight. I think someone's getting a finish in this one. For Nurmagomedov, 4 of his last 5 fights have been under 2.5 rounds. 3 of them have actually ended in the first, including both of his fights in the UFC have been under 2.5. And for Nate Maness, 7 out of his 10 fights of his last 10 have been under 2.5 rounds. And his only professional loss also reached that mark at under 2.5. He got body kicked, TKO'd. So I just think I could see a lot of grappling, obviously, in this one. But typically when the two really elite grapplers go together, they tend to strike. So then something could happen there. And I really do just think that on the ground, someone is probably going to get submitted. I love at minus 150, getting pretty solid odds. I think it's going under 2.5. I think it's going to be a much more exciting fight than some people may think on paper. But if you're like a really hardcore fan, this is one of the best fights of the whole weekend.
See, I view this as being one of your riskier plays, but yet the minus 150 says that this is likely how the fight is going to go.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. It is.
Let's talk about the parlays, Dom. Me and you in agreement on our first money line parlay, 2.43 units in total. Of course, 1.43 of that being me and 1 for Dom. Arman Tsarukyan in the main event, along with Shavkat Rakhmonov, both money line plays. Shavkat, we've already kind of explained it. Neil Magny is the right test for him right now. He is a good test. I am not as confident in Dom of a finish, but I think that Shavkat will be just fine if this fight goes to the distance. And yes, I understand that Neil Magny, the king of decision victories, so maybe I shouldn't be as confident in that, but I just think Rakhmonov's just a more dangerous opponent at this point. Neil Magny taking a half step back, I felt like, in his last fight. I feel like we were starting to see just a bit of a decline. Main event, Arman Tsarukyan. Matos Gamrot's so good that, and again, I thought the odds might be a little bit too skewed in Tsarukyan's favor, but if I'm doing when I'm looking at who I'm going to do a money line parlay on, this was immediately my pick.
Yeah.
Outside of Shavkat, Arman, I think, has just done it against the more not proven. I think he's doing it against better talent as of late. Guys that are just better right now. Gamrot gets full credit for taking on guys that were really good at one time, but I don't think he got the best of them when he fought them. Tsarukyan taking on a lot of killers in his run. I think it's only benefited him because you see the dividends it's paying off now. This was a guy that got criticized at one time for not getting finishes. Yep. Here he is on back-to-back finishes. And brutally, might I add, the Joel Alvarez and even Christos Giagos was all on the feet. Yep. I think he's the more well-rounded fighter, and I think that's the big edge here.
Yeah.
He just, again, it's kind of what you say. If we're playing the odds, more routes to victory has got to be what kind of gives someone the edge.
Yeah, I love everything that Noah said. Copy and paste for me. And, I originally wanted to add a third leg to those two, but then I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. It worked last week. If you watched last week, we kind of took a different approach. We went all 2 legs. I had 3 2-leg money line parlays, 2 of which hit. One, I was 1 leg short of. It turned out to be an amazing performance from Natalia Silva, so I can't even complain about that. So I went with that 2-legger in agreement with Noah, and then I went an additional 2-leg money line. Thiago Moises, he's closing at a minus 255. I really like Thiago, man. When he is there and putting on his best performances, I think he really is a top 15 talent. I really do believe that. He's 5 years younger than Christos Giagos, who we just talked about a second ago with these 2 main event guys. I just think Thiago has not only kind of put together more, I think his ceiling is a bit higher, but in his wins, it's more impressive than Giagos' wins. He's beaten Michael Johnson. He's beaten Bobby Green. He's beaten Alexander Hernandez. That was that 3-fight win streak he went on before that 2-fight skid that he's on. So yes,
he had a ranking next to his name not too long ago.
He had a ranking next to his name, and then he had to run into a guy named Islam Makhachev in his main event. That was kind of a main event that felt somewhat similar to this one a little bit. But yeah, he's on a 2-fight skid, not momentum, but I think he bounces back again. Just the younger guy, the higher ceiling. I think he gets it done. And then TJ Brown, I like this fight because, again, better competition here in the UFC. He's going up against I'm going to fuck this up. Okay, I'm just going to...
I think it's
Shaylin Nerdonbecki.
Nerd on Becky.
I'm going to call him Wolverine. That's
he said nerd on Becky.
Now listen, experience-wise, you're probably thinking, well, he's 37-10, the Wolverine that is. But it's one of those guys, and I'm not making accusations, but we see this a lot, right? With some of these Chinese fighters, they come in with records that are just unreal, just crazy.
You're saying he's stat padded.
I'm just saying that he's 1-1 right now in the UFC. He lost to Joshua Kulabau. He just fought, I think, last week, didn't he? Or a couple weeks ago. And then he beat Sean Soriano. But if you look at TJ's side, he's coming off a win against Charles Rosa. He's beaten Kai Kamaka III. And yes, the Jordan Griffin loss in his UFC debut, not great. But then he lost the decision to Danny Chavez as well. He won his fight on the Contender Series to get in. He's a bit older, 16-8, not as clean of a record. But I believe that he's minus 205 for a reason. I'm willing to take a risk. Last week I had 1 parlay piece that came in plus money or right around to it. So if I can do that every week and maybe hit 1 or 2 here or there, I like it. That's why I'm going Thiago Moises, TJ Brown. I really do think both those guys win, but I didn't want to risk adding that third leg to Tsarukyan and Rachmanov. So let's split it up.
By the way, so do you remember that fighter? I think his name was Azamat something. The guy who had all those fights, all his wins like taken off
From the Ukraine, that guy.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
I was seeing where Shaolin is kind of the opposite, the reverse Azamat, because he just had a bunch of wins added
No
to
shit.
his record. Just literally, like the last time he fought, I think I saw the clip going around. He was like 19-10,
Really?
and now he's 37-10. So
Well, I bet the house on that parlay. I'm just kidding. It's not a lot. But, like, I really do believe in TJ Brown. I did not know that. That's great.
well, I think that does in some ways, like that's great, and I'm glad that he's getting his record, corrected. But in some ways, doesn't that kind of speak to what you're saying, where it's like how hard it was for them to verify that these fights even happened?
Yeah, something's off,
So, I'm not saying that that's the reason that it's saying it, but it does kind of feel like, I love that the UFC is trying to break so much ground in China and, like the road to UFC stuff. I think it's great and really just all of Asia as a whole. But so far, I think it's going to be a slow build because you just see a lot of the talent there just needs time to develop. There's just not as much talent there as there is in the rest of the world. So like a lot of these guys that come and girls that come in with great records, great finishing capabilities, streaks and all that, they just don't seem to fare as well against the rest of the world. And it's just going to take time. I mean, yes, you have, the outliers, the Wei Li Zhangs, the Li Jingliangs and stuff like that. Song Yadong. But it's just, it's going to take time, but there is reasonable to be pessimistic about, someone like Shaolin who just is unproven. But I didn't just want to throw that in there. I thought it was interesting. 37-10.
I didn't know that.
It's a lot of fights.
Yeah, shit ton. He's only 28, so.
Yeah, and for Thiago Moises, Dom, like this is a big fight for him. He's 4-4 in the UFC.
Oh, it's big. Very.
But he has fought just a lot of good, solid dudes. So
yeah.
He's really in need of like a bounce back here. And Christos Thiago's a bit, I feel like his losses have been against very good fighters, but I don't feel like he's really beaten.
That was the biggest thing for me.
Yeah. So, I like it. I like everything we have on here. Let us know what picks you're picking, what bets you're placing, what sports books you're using this weekend. These, of course, all odds and all of our picks are being placed with the I almost messed that up, DraftKings Sportsbook.
Yep.
So shout out to them.
Yes.
And Dominic, that's pretty much going to wrap us up here, but we do have